Okay. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome on in. Gonna give it a few minutes here and wait for a few more people to get in here before we kick things off. Welcome, welcome.
Suddenly turned into a nice sunny day, Jacob. I don't know. Maybe people might be distracted.
This is very
At
true.
least where I am.
This is very true.
We like nice sunny days.
Especially after a lot of cold ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll give it another minute or so. A few people maybe having some lunch out on the patio.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let them stroll back in.
I should be doing that. All right, looks like I'd say people have trickled in.
Yeah, decent amount. All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Planner 101. Before we begin, my name is Jacob Heath. I am an account manager here at CompuWorks. And I just want to let you know just a few pieces of etiquette here before we get started. For anyone who has a question today, feel free to use the Q&A button. It's right at the bottom, right next to the chat button there, and ask your question, during the webinar or after. If we don't have enough time to get to you during the webinar, we certainly have a few minutes to spare at the end, and we'll be sure to get to everybody's questions. We like to follow up with a survey. It usually comes about 24 hours after the webinar. We like to get your feedback on this one and any ideas you might have for future topics. Apps are constantly popping up, and if there's something you want to get to know, you think it's going to help your organization and maybe others, we'd be happy to consider it for our next webinar. So certainly let us know in that feedback survey how you feel and what you think for the next one, and we will take it into consideration. Next up, I just want to introduce you to, our next webinar I'll introduce you is SharePoint Beyond the Basics. That's coming in May. I believe that's on Tuesday, the 23rd. We have also ChatGPT. I know I just mentioned new apps popping up, and that seems to be the hot one right now. So lots and lots of things you can do with ChatGPT and how you can utilize it within the workforce. ChatGPT as a business tool also coming by as well. So definitely some webinars you're going to want to check out. SharePoint, especially Beyond the Basics. A lot of people moving up to the cloud. So if you are interested, be sure to sign up. You can also go right on our website and sign up for emails. We'll send you an email every month letting you know when the next one's coming up. Before we get into it, I'd like to introduce you to CompuWorks founding partner, Alan Bauman. Alan?
Thanks, Jacob. And I'm excited about these webinars over the summer. I don't know about you, Jacob, but I think this whole ChatGPT thing and the world of artificial intelligence, it's both fascinating and terrifying. And so I'm not really sure what I should think about it quite yet. So very interested in those two webinars. So spread the word. It's a little bit out of the sort of the more typical stuff we've been doing around 365, but I think it's going to be super interesting. And I will also kind of echo what Jacob said. If you're not familiar with SharePoint, don't think that webinar doesn't apply to you. A lot of people that use 365 don't even really know what SharePoint is. And it's very much foundational to the whole 365 world. So, if you're curious, I think it's well worth an hour of your time to check that one out as well. All right, so once again, I want to introduce our superstar, all-star instructor here, Jo Lin, the knower of all things, and she's here to talk about Microsoft Planner today, and we're excited to have you here again, Jo Lin.
Thank you.
So welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jacob, Alan. So Hello, everyone. Welcome to Planner 101. So a little bit about Microsoft Planner before we dive in. Microsoft Planner is very essential to my everyday. It's something that I am continuously using to help organize what I have to do when I'm working with a group of people. So one of the things to kind of be aware of with this program is it's very beneficial for organization of multiple tasks. And we'll kind of get into a little bit on the project management side of that. It isn't just for you though. This is an application that we can utilize with other people. So it's meant for sharing. So we'll get into exactly what does all that mean and how else can I see it? Because there's a lot of different ways we can be accessing and using this tool called Microsoft Planner. So Microsoft Planner is one of the 365 apps. So you can access the program by just simply going to the internet, log into your Microsoft account, and then you'll be able to get into Microsoft Planner. So I'm in my Microsoft account, just my typical, office.com website. And I'm just going to go to my apps at the top left, and I'm going to click on Planner. So you can see that, of course, you get all of your different apps listed. Once you open up Planner, what you're actually going to see is a list of all the plans that you personally have access to. So it basically gives you a menu of all the plans that you have. Now, I have quite a few plans because every time I do this training, I have a new plan. And so mine have continued to grow, but I do have some that are actual plans that I work with. So they're for projects that I have going on right now. But just so you can see on the left-hand side, I'm currently clicked on Hub. So on the left-hand side, I'm clicked on Hub. So this is your navigation pane on the left. So what you're seeing on the right-hand side is on the Recent tab, I can see all of the recent plans that I have been into. And what you're looking at, the view that you're seeing is showing you these little nodes, showing you what the name of the plan is. And then it's also showing you the physical location. So it's actually giving you the kind of the path of where that plan is stored at. And that will be important to think about in a few minutes when we talk about utilizing this application through other programs, because everything in Microsoft 365 plays nice together, and Microsoft Planner is going to be available through SharePoint, through Microsoft Teams, and even through Outlook. So we're going to see how those programs work with this planner as well. So basically, if I wanted to see all of the plans, not just my recent plans, I have a tab at the top of the list to click on all. When I see all, I can see a list of every plan that I have access to. Okay, but back over on the left-hand side, I think this is important to understand. There's a category on the left called Assign to Me. So when we start diving into how a plan works, what this is going to show you are just the tasks that you are assigned to. So it's going to filter out all of those plans and only show you tasks that you are responsible for. So we'll get into how did you become responsible for that task. But what you're actually seeing is different columns. So at the top, of course, you can see my profile picture, but then you're going to see this first column is called Not Started. So these are the tasks that I haven't started yet. And you can see some of these are red. That's because they're overdue. Now we'll talk about notifications in a minute, but just so you can tell right away, you know which ones are past due by seeing the red. So then I would have a column if I had any tasks that were in progress, which is one of the statuses that we have with our tasks. They would be in that column for in progress. Otherwise, I do have some tasks over in the completed category. When you look at those nodes, you're also seeing that they're crossed off. So they've been completed. So there's a check mark and the task itself has been crossed off. And then just so you can see at the top, you're seeing different views. We have grid view, which is going to give you columns and rows instead of the little nodes. Then, of course, I was on the board view. Board view is going to give you the little card look. We also have charts. So every time that you're in a plan, these views will be available. I love the charts. They're like looking at a dashboard so that you get an update as to what's going on with all of your tasks. But of course, when you're in a plan, this chart is not just for you, it'll be for every task within the plan. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But what I really like about this is you get these status update, you get a priority. And by the way, everything that's green is active, but everything that's red is overdue. So once again, you always want to look for the red. But as you can see, when you go down, you can see how many days it goes across on this timeline as well. So just a nice at a glance look. But actually, one of my favorite things is the schedule view. So up at the top, you're going to see a tab for schedule. When you click on that view, you will actually get a calendar. Once again, and it's like Christmas here, we get all these holiday colors, but you're seeing a lot of red because those are the ones that are past due. So you're going to see which tasks you are supposed to be working on during a time frame. Now, how does it know to go across this amount of days? Well, that's because we can track a start date and a due date. So this is when I need to start the task. This is when the task is going to be due. And that is how it dictates how many days it's spreading across your calendar, your schedule. It's not physically added to my Outlook calendar as of today. This is a separate view just for the tasks and I'm seeing just the ones I'm assigned to. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of other things on the left-hand side. We could have plans that are pinned. So there's this pinned category. And then again, I'm going to see a list of all my different plans. If I want to open an existing plan, I could do so from this list. So I'm going to click on this one called Marketing To-Do List. And just so you can see, this is actually, and I can see up at the top, it says linked on the right-hand side, but I can see that it's coming from the marketing department from the general channel. So that's actually coming from Microsoft Teams. Okay. But what you're seeing on the right-hand side, which I don't have a lot of tasks in this one yet, but you can see the name of it up at the top. You would see the profile image for coming from the account or from the team that it's associated with. And then I have this column called To Do. Then I have a column on the right, which there isn't anything in at the moment, called Add New Bucket. Let me describe what that is. So we have these two columns right now. One is called To Do, one is called Add New Bucket. So this entire program, this app, when you create a new plan or somebody else creates a new plan and you're a part of the plan, it's going to provide you the opportunity to add in tasks that are directly related to whatever the name of the plan is. We can then organize all of the tasks into what is called buckets. So if you're familiar at all with project management, when we are going to manage a project, let's say that I'm going to implement a new software program. I'm going to design a new playground at the neighborhood, playground area. I'm going to build a 2-story office building. Whatever it is that you happen to be working on, you might have 10 other people involved with you on making sure this project gets accomplished. We create a WBS, which stands for Work Breakdown Structure. And basically, we organize the tasks into what are referred to as deliverables and work packages. Well, we can do that same thing here in Microsoft Planner because we can organize our tasks into buckets. It's like putting things into a category or a deliverable where everything related to it is going to be underneath it. So if I'm creating a plan for the marketing department, I might have a bucket called social media. And then everything related to social media, a task would go into that bucket. So I'm going to click add bucket. I'm going to give it a name and I'm going to call it social media. And then I can add whatever tasks I need to go inside that bucket. But all of the tasks in this entire plan are directly related to the marketing department. So I could add as many buckets as I need. So I've got social media. Maybe we're going to be doing some prints. So we're going to have some like flyers. We're going to have, posters made, whatever. I could have a bucket called prints. So we can have all these different buckets to help us organize what needs to be done. Now, you might not do buckets right away, though. You might just come in and start adding tasks in. So I might just go to this icon with the plus sign where it says add task. If I click on that, it's going to bring me to a new task window, this little area right here, where I can enter in what the name of the task is. So maybe I need to be working on posters. And then I could go to the set due date and I could say these are going to be due May 19th. If I want to assign this task to a specific person, we just click assign, and only the people that are a member of the team in Microsoft Teams will be able to be assigned to these tasks. So I'm going to assign Jolene myself. So just so you can see, I'm automatically assigned, but I could assign more if I wanted to, but I'll just assign myself. So for right now, all you can see then is I have this task that's been added, and I could continue adding more tasks. But that wasn't a lot of detail with that specific task. So let me show you that you can go into the task to add more detail to it. So I'm going to click on this posters. And when I click on posters, it's going to take me into a window where I can put in more detail. So up at the top, I can see that it was changed just a minute ago by me. So whoever has changed it and when did they change it is going to show up. I love that, because if somebody else in your team came in and changed something, you're going to know. But anyway, just so you could see, I could assign other people or change it from me to somebody else. I could choose which bucket I want this to go to. So if this is going to be related to prints, I could click on the drop down and choose prints, or I could just drag and drop it to that bucket as well. But then I could put it in as a progress of either being in progress or being completed. I also have priorities, and I can put in when this task needs to be started. So it's going to be due on May 19th. I actually need to start it May 1st. So it's got to start in a due date. I could turn it into reoccurring, but then I could put in notes. But one of the things that I really like about this planner is, what if posters is just the name of this? It's like a work package. Under the checklist, I can actually put in the individual things that I need to do to create the posters or to get the posters printed. So I could go to this add an item and put in what my items are that I need to do to complete this task called posters. So I'm going to add in a couple of checklist items. I need to get the logo from the client. Maybe I need to get exact colors. I need to get the description, whatever it is that I need to do. I'm going to have this as a checklist. When I'm done with all of these items, the whole task will be completed. So it's like keeping individual pieces to the task named poster. But the poster task is all related to the print bucket. So if you're kind of following the order, how it's kind of laid out. And down below, I could add an attachment. So if I had a working document or something like that that I wanted to attach to this, I most certainly could. Or maybe I want to attach the contract from the customer or whatever the case would be. Once I'm done, all I have to do is close this. There's not a save button. It's automatically saving the changes. Once I close it and you look under this bucket called prints, you're going to see that task. And because of the fact that I actually added checklist items, I can see those listed. once I complete something, I can click on it from this view. I can just click on it to say I completed it. It's going to remove it from this view. But of course, it's still in the list if I open the full task. But I'm getting a nice little at a glance because I can see my red exclamation mark. I can see my progress, and I can see I've done 1 of 3 of my checklists. So it gives you a little status without having to physically open it. And I can see the due date is the 19th. So let's say that you create a planner and you assign a task to some of the members of your SharePoint site, if it's through SharePoint, your team site, if it's through Teams, or just your coworkers. If it's a plan that you're creating, you could add any of your coworkers and they will become a member of this plan. You don't have to share it with them. As soon as you assign to them to a task, they're automatically a member of this plan. How do they know that you assigned something to them? Well, that's the best part. They're going to get a notification. As a matter of fact, as soon as I put the person's name, they get a banner notification at the bottom right, if they have those notifications turned on. But they're also going to get an email, because I'm not always staring at my screen, so I might miss that banner notification. Let me show you Outlook. I'm going to open up the email that I received when I was assigned to a task earlier today. So this is what I received. You've been assigned to a task from student 1. I see that student 1 assigned it to me. I know that it's called Update Holidays on SharePoint. And I can see that it's got a due date of May 1st. I can click Go to Task to take me directly to that task. It opens up Planner, opens up that task in the full window, where now I can put in my, what my details are. Yes, it was assigned to me, but I'm going to come in and put things in. I'm going to put in my notes. I'm going to put in my attachments. I'm going to put in my checklist, because it's now my task. It's my responsibility. So I really like the email notification, because I may not have Planner open. So how else am I going to know if I was assigned to something? So we get that nice email. But that's not the only place I'm going to get notified. So I'll show you that as we go along. So how do you get started with a plan? So I wanted to show you first a brief example of what it looks like. And let me finish this window here real quick. So I happen to be in this, because I'm in a different plan right now, because I went into a task that I was assigned to, and it's a part of this PTO to do. It's called PTO to do, and it's part of my virtual training Microsoft team. It's in a channel called Vacation, PTO, and Holidays. I can see that from the left-hand side, but when I look at the right-hand side of the screen, I can also see up at the top left of this right side of the window, it says the name of it. And over on the right-hand side, it says open in Microsoft Teams. So I know for sure that this plan is residing directly inside Teams, although I don't have to be in Teams to work on it. I can be right here in Planner. So we have that connectivity from one application to another, which I absolutely love. So anyway, let me kind of take you through, what do you do when you want to start a plan? If you've never created a plan before, whether it's SharePoint, Teams, or just a plan on its own, all you have to do when you open up this app, top left, click New Plan. You will have the ability of starting from scratch, which is this new blank plan, but you also have a couple of templates. And I have read that Microsoft is going to be adding a few more templates to this list, but this is what we have today. You could do a simple plan, you could do a project management plan, software development, business plan, or an employee onboarding. So let's say that we want to do an employee onboarding, because we're going to be working with our HR department, and we want to come up with a new process for when we are hiring and bringing new people into our company. We need to have new processes done. So I'm going to click on this template called employee onboarding. And you could see a picture of it, kind of a screenshot of what it's going to actually look like. Over on the right-hand side is where I fill out my details, where I need to give it a name. So what I'm going to call this is ABC Company HR Plan. Just to give it a name for right now. I could add it to an existing list. I'm not going to get very detailed on what that means today. I have privacy and sensitivity. This is private by default. We won't worry so much about that today, but it could become public. I'm just going to click create. I gave it a name. I'm clicking create. That's how easy it can be to get started. Now, of course, you could start with a blank one where it's just going to be empty. You just give it a name. But this particular template has given it this really pretty background, but you're also seeing several buckets automatically created with some tasks. So this was called employee onboarding. So I'm seeing a post offer acceptance bucket. I'm also seeing technology, paperwork, orientation, feedback, and you can keep going with the buckets that you need to organize the tasks at hand. So it gives you some examples of the different tasks that could go in these buckets. So under the post offer acceptance, we have set employee start date in the system. We have register for onboarding. Under technology, we have some IT tasks. And then under paperwork, we have some HR tasks, again, send direct deposit forms, those kind of things. Well, when you're looking at these, notice the colors. Notice that where it says HR on each of these, it's more of a pink color. IT is this light blue color. And then the manager, those are a kind of a sea green type color. Let me show you how all that happens. So let me create a new task. Let's say that I'm going to create a new task under paperwork. I could go directly to the bucket, click add task for paperwork, and I'm back into adding in a new task. So let's say that part of the paperwork is going to be they need to sign some policies. So I'm going to put in policies. And then I could put in a due date, and I need that due by this Friday. I'm going to assign it. Now, I'm the only person that has access to this right now because I created it. And by the way, it's automatically saved on my OneDrive. So by default, it is automatically saved on my OneDrive, just so you know. So if I want to assign this to one of my coworkers, anybody within my domain of my company, all I have to do is start typing their names, click on them, and they just are going to become a member. So I'm going to assign task and add the user to the plan. So I'm going to click assign and add. So now that person has rights to this plan, and they just got an email letting them know that they were just assigned to this task. So that's actually pretty cool. And we're going to say that that person was actually part of the HR department. So I'm going to add that task so I can see I've got my policies right here. I'm going to click on policies so that I can actually open, and you're going to see right away that we have search for label. We can create labels to color code the tasks. And these are color coded based on the department or the person. So most of the time it's based on department. So a manager has to do this. IT is going to do this. We're not saying, you know, the color coding isn't for a specific person, but yours could be whatever you want it to be. You've got these different colors listed. And I'm going to say that this is going to be an HR task. So I'm going to click HR, which you can see is pink. We have a pencil next to each color that you can click on to change the label. It's like using categories in Outlook. And I love categories in Outlook. So I'm going to choose HR. So now it is labeled as HR. If I wanted to label it with more than one label, I could, but I'm going to leave it as HR. Now I'm going to let the other person fill out the rest of the details. I just wanted to get the label done. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Now, of course, if I had any special notes or anything I could add to it, I created it, that anybody can come in and do that. So I'm going to close that. Now, of course, they got an email. They're going to open the task and they're going to find that this task is actually available to them in several places. I'll show you that in just a second. But this is actually pretty cool that we could start with something already created or just start from scratch. Either way, I love it both ways. But if I do happen to have a template available for what I'm working on, I'd rather start with the template. I could rename the bucket. You know, I could go to the name of the bucket. There's a menu on the right. I could click on that menu and I could rename it. I could delete it. I could move it left or right within the list. So we can manage those buckets. So if you wanted to change the names of the buckets, you can. You know, you could start with a template and do whatever you want to with it once you get started. I like starting with a template. Less work to do on our end. But I can't say enough about how this has saved my life with a lot of things, because not every project that I manage that I'm going to be working with, 5, 10, 2 people with, however many people, I don't always need Microsoft Project for the whole thing. Sometimes this is all I need. And this to me has made me more organized than I ever thought I could get. I used to have paper. I used to have sticky notes. I used to have notebooks. I used to use Microsoft Tasks. I don't even use that anymore. This to me is my go-to program. But remember, this is for using with other people to complete whatever the objective is of the project. Okay. It can be ongoing because of the fact that, like onboarding, these are things that would be happening all the time. If it's for a specific person, it might be a little bit different, but these are typical things that we would be using for onboarding. So let's take this just a little bit further. This, I came into the Microsoft login. I clicked on Planner. Is that how I access these? Not always. Let me show you some other choices. So if you don't want to log into the Microsoft account to open up the app, what are your other choices? Well, one of your choices is actually going to be going to a SharePoint site. So let me click on an existing SharePoint site that I have. This is a SharePoint site that is actually created. It was created as a SharePoint team site. When a SharePoint team site is created, it automatically includes a task list. So on the left-hand side, which of course, it's just called task list, but I could rename it. I'm just going to click task list. When I click task list, I'm in a planner. I'm automatically in a planner, and I'm working with everybody that is a part of this SharePoint site. They are all the members that can be assigned to these tasks. So I can use the planner right here. I can create new buckets. I can be adding in new tasks. By the way, if I've completed a task, when I see it on this list, especially these ones that are overdue, this was assigned to me to run a report. I can click on the circle in front of it to just simply mark it as complete, and it's going to add it to this category called completed. So I don't always have to see the completed because they're already done. I only want to focus on the tasks that haven't been completed yet. And this automatically hides the completed ones in that category. I think that's fantastic because we don't have to see it all the time. So it doesn't completely remove it from your list. It's still here. You could always go back to it. But I just wanted to kind of show you briefly here today about how that works through SharePoint. That's not even my most popular way that I use Planner. What I want to do is take you into Microsoft Teams. So this is how I usually use Planner. And right away, I'm going to point out something on my left-hand side in Microsoft Teams. I have an activity. I'm going to click on activity. I know I have a brand new activity because I've got the red dot with the 1. I'm going to click on activity, and I can actually see that I was assigned to a task. So I have a notification directly here in Teams letting me know that I was assigned to a task. So I got the email notification. I can have that banner notification on my screen for a few seconds. I also got a notification here directly in Teams. So I'm not going to miss tasks that are assigned to me. I seriously don't miss tasks that are assigned to me because on my left-hand side, I have added the app for tasks by planner and to do. I never take this off. I have it pinned, but let me tell you how I got it here. So let me remove it for a second. I just unpinned it. And if I click somewhere else, it disappeared on my left. How I got that there is I went to the dotted menu, or I can go to apps, but to just see Microsoft's, I'm going to click on the more added apps. And from this list, I'm going to directly click on tasks by planner and to do. It automatically opens the app. Just like you saw, it's a little bit different, but these are the same things, the assigned to me that you saw when I logged into the online account. I'm seeing the same thing. I'm seeing things a little bit different, and I'll explain that. But if this is something I want to have available in Teams all the time, I'm going to go to the icon on the left-hand side, right click, and then left click on pin. So that every time I come into Teams, I don't have to leave Teams to see what I have going on in Planner. I'm in it. So what are you seeing though? How is this different than what you saw when we were online? Different categories on this left-hand side. I have my task list. So by the way, this is just for me. This has nothing to do with the planners that have been assigned to all these other people. I'm only seeing the tasks I am responsible for. So what I'm seeing on the left-hand side, it says my task to do. I'm actually in a different app called To Do, but it's connected with Planner. So it's called Tasks by Planner and To Do here in Teams because it's combining them. So what you're seeing on the left is I could click on tasks and I'm just going to see a typical task list. If I click my day, it would show me any tasks that I have tagged for today or had due today. I have an importance category. On the left-hand side, if I click important, these are the tasks that have been marked as important. Do you remember a minute ago when I was in that task called posters and I marked it as important? Here it is. Same thing. I also have planned, this category called planned. You can see I have quite a few things in this planned because any emails that I flag are even showing up here. So if you're an email flagger in Outlook, we have that connectivity, of course, to Outlook. So if I look at my source column, it tells me if it was a flagged email or not. It tells me if it was part of a task list. So basically, these are all of the things that I said I need to do. It has a start or a finish and or a finish date. It's flagged as a to-do item then. So that's what I'm seeing because they're planned with a start or a finish date. Pretty cool. But what's great is on this left-hand side, if I click assign to me, this is limiting me just to the tasks that I was assigned to through Planner. So I can see posters, I can see bookings. All of these things are tasks that I was assigned to directly through Planner. I can be in this app and have access to what I need to do. So this is specifically for me and me only. So I have flagged emails on the left. I also have these other groups, but then I could go into these shared plans. These are coming from inside Teams, Microsoft Teams. Let me explain. I'm going to go to the left-hand side and click on the icon for Teams. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Teams, hopefully you've attended one of the sessions. If not, get signed up. Microsoft Teams is arrived at channels. So it consists of the name of the team and then different channels to organize information that you want to share with a group of people and do collaborating. Well, one of the things that we can do collaborating wise is a planner. So if I have 10 members to this team called Microsoft 365, we could actually have a plan created directly for that specific channel. So you can see my lists up at the top, my apps. If I click on Microsoft Task List, this is a planner. So I can create or connect to plans. So if I had an existing plan, I could connect to it, or I could start a brand new plan in any of my channels in my Teams that is part of Microsoft Teams. Teams inside a channel. So it's a way that we can have the members of this team work on a task list together. This is where I probably use it the most. But I definitely use that icon on the left here, because if I'm already in Microsoft Teams and I need to work on something that is on my task list, I just go to the left and click on Task by Planner and To Do. Why would I leave this application, go open up another one? It's right here, because we want to find efficiencies in using our applications, and this is definitely one of those. So how do you create a new plan here in Teams? Let's say that I'm part of the accounting department and we have this general channel. So we need a task list to start assigning people to these different, and I just got a notification on my computer here about being a part of a new plan. So we get notifications via email for all kinds of things. So what you're seeing is under the accounting department team, I'm going to the general channel, and we need a place that we're going to be able to organize all the tasks that we need to do for this new workflow that we're going to do for accounting. Let's say that it's going to be related to accounts receivable and accounts payable. So we get the invoices, we send the invoices out, kind of what is our process. So what I'm going to do is go to the tabs at the top right, click on the plus sign, and then I'm going to choose Task by Planner and To Do. Once I click on the name of the app that I want to connect to, it's going to have me give it a name if it's brand new, or I could connect to an existing plan. I'm going to name this AR and AP tasks. AR and AP tasks, and then I'm just going to click save. Everybody that is a member of this team now has access to this. So I can assign tasks just to the people that are members in this team. So we keep the work together because we're all collaborating together inside this team. So as you can see, it's a blank one because I'm starting from scratch. So I could add in a new task, I could create all my buckets, et cetera, just like I talked about a few minutes ago. So it works the same. This to me has saved me so much time and headaches, because we would say, hey, can you add this to your task list? Can you add this to your task list? And everybody's tracking things differently. Some people are doing it on paper. Some people are doing it in, their app on their phone. Some people are doing it in Microsoft Tasks. Everybody kind of had their own way of doing things, and nobody knew the details as to what was going on with any of the tasks, or, which tasks are done, which ones aren't done. This has saved so much time and headaches because we're all sharing it together. Someone that gets assigned to a task from in here, they get the notification that, oh, by the way, you get notifications when your tasks are due. So let me show you an example of that while I'm talking about it. So let me go back to Outlook here, and let me just slide my Outlook over here so you can see a couple of things. I just got this notification. You've joined the ABC Company HR Plan Group. So it's letting me know that I just joined this brand new group with that plan that I just created. But let me show you this. So anytime that you have past due tasks or tasks that are coming up, you're going to get an email notification, and it says Microsoft on behalf of your organization. So what I can see is I have 3 tasks that are due. So I can see you have late tasks. So it's showing me my late tasks. It's giving me a link to get directly to them. I can see this is a task that I have coming up. It's due in 7 days. Then I'm going to get another notice before it's due. Then I'm going to get a notice if I didn't mark it as complete, it will give me a notice letting me know that it's overdue. So it's unbelievable how easy it is to stay on track. I don't have to do extra effort like flagging things, setting all these outside reminders for anything. I have quick, easy access to everything. It reminds me. I don't have to do it. And just so you're aware of this, when I'm here in Microsoft Outlook, I have access to my planner tasks. So everything that was assigned to me on my left-hand side, my menu bar on the left with 365, I can click on this blue check mark to open up to do. When I click to do, you're going to see the same, well, very similar, not exactly the same as what you saw in Teams. When I added that icon on the left-hand side of Teams, I'm seeing my day. I'm seeing important. I'm seeing planned. I'm seeing assigned to me. So these are all the tasks that are assigned to me, whether it's coming from this plan, this one from SharePoint, it doesn't matter. This is my personal list of everything that I'm working on. I love this. If I want to go in and update it, I could click on it. It's going to open on the right-hand side of the screen where I can be adding in other details. Okay. Maybe I want to add it to my day because I'm going to work on it today. I want to see it. It had the checklist. So I could come to the checklist. I could even add to the checklist. Here in To Do, it's called steps, but it's the same thing. They didn't name them the same because they're two separate programs and they didn't want the confusion. So in To Do, it's called steps. In Planner, it's checklist. Okay, so you know where you're at when you see the name of it, but another day for that. But just so you can see, I have access to it without having to go back and open yet another app. I'm already in Outlook. Why do I want to leave Outlook to see what I have coming up that is, coming up due soon or whatever the case might be? So I really like this. It's unbelievable. Here's that task that I did called posters coming from the marketing to-do list. I've checked off one of 3. I can see it's due Friday, May 19th, and it has the star over here because it was marked as important. The star here in To Do means that it's marked as important. Here's that update holidays on SharePoint that I showed you earlier that I was assigned to this morning. So I'm seeing the details for that. It's coming from the PTO To Do. So it's nice that we have the connection from one application to another. One application to another. To me, it's the best of every world. So I can either be here in Outlook, I can be in Microsoft Teams, click on the left-hand side to narrow down to just my to-do list by going to that tasks by planner and to do. Now I'm seeing that same thing assigned to me because it's the same exact as what we saw. I can go into what's planned if I want to see my flagged emails and everything else that I put a start date and or a due date to. But if I want to go into a specific plan, I can do that multiple ways. I could go back to the internet, but I'm already here in Teams. If it's a team shared planner, all I have to do is go to the channel it's connected to. So if I click on accounting, which I don't even have to go to Teams to do, I can do it right from this app. If I click on accounting, I know I have 2 different plans because it's showing me on the general channel, I have this AR/AP task list. I also have a channel called accounts payable where there's a separate AP task list. If I look at the marketing department, there's 3 of them in the general channel. One's called 2023 marketing, One's called marketing to-do list. One is called task list. I normally don't have that many task lists. It's coming from classes. But then I also have this one that's in a separate channel called Company Templates 2022. So you can see it's only going to list under this planner. It's only listing the teams and the channels that actually have a planner. It's not showing you all of them. If you want to go back to all your teams, you click teams. But here it's narrowing it down for me to the ones that have the planner. So I don't have to remember, oh yeah, what did I name it at the top? It's showing me the list here. So if I want to go to this marketing plan from the Company Templates channel, I can click on it and it automatically opens it. I happen to be in the list view right now. So at the top right, when I was talking about the different views we have, I can use those anywhere. So if I want to have a board view, that's our default usually. I can go into charts. I can go into schedule. So we have all the same views no matter where we are. I can be in the online version. So back here in the online version, I can actually go into any of my plans. I'll have my same views. Oops, my views are over here. Depending on where I am, the view menu is a little bit different, but it gives me all the same things. So this to me, as I've said, is such a time saver, but there is a big difference between planner and just a regular task list in to-do. So planners are made to work with multiple people where you want to be assigning tasks to others. Okay. But to-dos is more for you personally. Okay. So when I'm back in Outlook as the example, when I'm in Outlook and I click on to-do from the left-hand side, if I want to add in a new task, I go to my day and then I can just simply start typing this new task that I want to add in. It is a task just for me. It's not for other people. It's just for me. If I want to create a list that is with other people, that's when I'm going to do planner. And I would need to go back to planner to create the new planner, just so you're aware, because here it doesn't allow me to create the new plan because it's not the same app. All right. But I could go to Teams and start a new one if I want to store it within Teams, within a specific channel. I will create the plan directly there. Otherwise, I could go to SharePoint, and depending on the site and depending on what I have access to, I could create a task list in my SharePoint site. Or of course, I can just simply go to the app where it's only going to be showing me. So when I go to actual planner, I can actually go back to the home page of planner and I will have access to every plan that I have rights to. So whichever plans I'm a member of. Okay. But the key to that is if you only want to see what you are working on, to-do is great for that. Inside Microsoft Teams, you can have that planner, task by planner and to-do, or from here on the left-hand side, click assign to me. That will help narrow your list down. Okay. So awesome program. Something that it takes a little bit of breaking your habits sometimes, because we all have habits of doing things a certain way. Highly recommend giving this a try. I think you're really going to like it. It takes a little bit of a learning curve, but as you can see, it's pretty easy to use. It has easy to click on buttons that I'm creating a new task. You click on it, an existing task, you're going to get a window to add more detail. It's relatively easy learning curve once you get started. Okay. Alan or Jacob, did we have any questions that came in from our group today?
I didn't see any, and it's funny, you actually got my question answered a few moments ago, just before the end here. I was going to ask if 'Cause I actually use Microsoft To Do. I think it's great. I was going to see
Yes.
if there's any integration from To Do into Planner, but it doesn't look like it because To Do is just
No.
like you said, just
It's for
me.
you.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
and that's kind of thinking about SharePoint versus OneDrive. OneDrive is for you.
Mm,
SharePoint is for sharing. And that's exactly what To Do and Planner are.
okay.
And
Yep.
I've had the question from a lot of people also. Here in Microsoft Outlook, we have always had Microsoft tasks, the Outlook tasks on the left-hand side. So that gives you the to-do list and then it gives you the task list. I have heard a rumor, this is only a rumor, that this may be disappearing. Anything that is added here is already integrated into To Do. So I have a feeling that that's going to hold true, that that rumor will happen. Eventually they'll phase out tasks because we won't need all three
Okay.
because it's replaced already
Right. Right.
with To Do and Planner. Okay.
Let's see, one came up.
How do
here.
you manage attachments and version control if others are updating a document? I just saw that one come in. Good question. Very good question. The document needs to be in a shared location if you're going to have multiple people in that document inside the task. And then, of course, any document that is cloud-based automatically has version history. So when we're in a task, so let me jump back to Planner here. So when I'm in a plan and I'm in a task, so let me just open up a task. If I attach a file to this, I could say it's coming from my computer, a team file, because this is a team planner that I'm in right now. So it gives me from team, or I could type in a URL. So if it was coming from a SharePoint document library, I could put the URL. But if I'm the person that has rights to it, I attach it. If somebody else opens that task and they don't have rights to my computer because it's on my C drive for whatever reason, they wouldn't be able to open that. It would still be here for me to open, but they would not be able to open it. So they wouldn't have access to it. So if it's coming from one of my team files, it's coming from a SharePoint where I put in the URL, the address of it, coming from the document library. That's the great part about it, because anything cloud-based has the version history. You can always go to the original file, and depending on how you open it, if you're in the desktop version, go to your file menu, you can always get the version history. If you are in the document library, you can of course get the version history by right-clicking. Okay, so have your files be cloud-based so that you have that version history. So when you attach it, it's attaching the file, it's not a link. Okay, so I'll just open up a file just so you can kind of see. So now I have this attachment, and it was coming directly from Microsoft Teams. So it isn't a cloud. So I get version history. So if I open it, make changes, somebody else opens it, make changes, we have that version history. That was a great question. Any other questions?
It's good stuff, Jolene. As usual, it's not something that I've used before, so very interesting to look at it.
Break
Yeah,
your
I could do
habits.
all kinds of applications, home life, work life. I mean, we use a different kind of project management system internally, but definitely could see a lot of applications for this. And I love the fact that, you've got that tasks by planner and To Do, whenever you can consolidate how many places you have to look for things. It's always nice.
Because if it's something that I'm responsible for, I want to be able to see it, and I don't want to jump through hoops to be able to see it. I had
Right.
3 different ways that I could see it. Well, there's more than that, but I showed 3 ways today. Isn't that crazy?
Right. Yep. Good stuff. All right. Well, great. I think that's all the questions we have. So what do we have to wrap this up here? We want to maybe just go through what we've got coming up. So, right. Okay. So we talked about this at the top of the webinar. Just pointing out the June session is not our normal 4th Tuesday of the month. So just a little bit of a curveball. We try to keep it consistent, but sometimes we can't. So But that'll show up if you register in Zoom, it'll put it on your calendar for the right date. So just know about that. And yeah, I think that's all we have. So we're cruising into summer. Looking forward to some warm weather and some interesting topics to come here in the next few months. So yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Jolynn, thank you. Jacob, thank you. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
Well, take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.